wise move, but I mean, he can do anything.
I'm interested whether Draven would get banned, because Draven with lethality strikes me as something that could be really interesting to look at as we head into picks and bans already.
Oh boy, MnM over on the blue, Barrage over on the red. Now, lethality, we are on patch 7.14, so it's talk of the town at the moment, but the Cogmore will be taken off the board first.
Usually I'm really a lot taller than you, Jaws, but looking at myself on the screen, I feel like I'm like really low behind this monitor.
It feels good. In all honesty, it feels good.
I'm looking at myself thinking, he looks like he's like in a box. You know, like my head's just out of a box like this. Anyway, we are in picks and bans already going. Candy Floss, Evelyn off the table. We've actually got Sleeping coming in the top lane here. Agua, Joe in the mid lane. So some updates to the rosters that you saw there. It will be Sleeping in the top lane and Agua, Joe in mid. But no changes on the side of MnM Gaming. They will retain the roster that we did see.
Wow, that's a heavy. I almost read Eve twice. You might as well at this point, because Candy Floss, well known for his Eve, and that's why you're seeing that banned away. We do have a Jace over on the side of MnM, and a Kassadin as well, second ban here for Barrage. And this is such a stark contrast to 7-13, whereas Thresh, Zac, Caitlyn on red side 99% of the time.
I still think Zac gets banned by Barrage, because Kha'Zix is now gone, one of the more malleable lethality junglers. Thresh does go down. That's interesting, because now Zac could be open to a first pick. Now, Zac didn't get changed in 7-14. The hot fixes that came through in the middle of 7-14 did obviously then get put into the patch notes. But Cho'Gath, so what we saw during the tournaments in the previous week, it is going to be Cho'Gath getting first pick by any team that leaves him open, and he can be so adaptable in terms of his position. We've seen him mid, we've seen him top, can kind of go everywhere right now.
See, I'm laughing and shaking my head because Cho'Gath is not something we've seen in a long time, and I'm talking maybe a year and a half maybe, and him coming, rising resurgence really, and coming up to the forefront.
And when was the last time we saw Cho'Gath in competitive? Was it top or jungle?
I've got a feeling it was jungle.
I've got a feeling it was jungle as well.
But maybe we need to confirm on that one. But it's so strange to see a Cho'Gath first pick, but MnM are going to pick it up. But like you mentioned, he can be played in a variety of roles. So the ultimate flex pick at the moment, top, mid, jungle. Speaking of junglers, Gragas will be locked in here as well. But again, can be played towards the top side.
Yeah, absolutely. It means Fred still likely get Fred to get his hands on that. It's mainly where we have seen Gragas, especially in UK level tournaments. And a very big support pick priority right now, the Braum coming through. That has been almost second to Thresh in almost every situation. People just lock in that Braum. It also works quite well with the Jhin in the bot lane if that's something that Barrage want to get their hands on, which means MnM may be now forced to sort of lock something like that in. Could also work with the Tristana on Barrage's side as well. I know Barrage do like to play heavy tower pushing compositions, and giving Monk Tristana could allow them to facilitate that.
Well, Jhin is going to be the hover. We don't always speak about hovers, but I mean, Jhin is going to be the lock-in for MnM. No real surprise, in all honesty, that Duskblade, even with the hotfix, makes him terrifying.
Yeah.
So that'll be a first item Jhin, and already kind of an oppressive bottom lane for MnM, and now we want to see what they pick up next.
I imagine they'll lock in their support here, unless it's something that they want to prioritize in mid lane. Something that we've sort of talked about is that in the first rotation, you generally see your bot lane prioritized mostly because it's very difficult to get bad matchups, and it's very easy to ban out particular bot lanes in the second rotation. It means Tahm Kench is going to get locked in here for MnM. Actually, I like the Braum into the Jhin as well, because obviously now with the resurgence of Jhin, his ultimate creates so much space under turrets. The Unbreakable is such a good way of preventing that space being created naturally. When Jhin goes to a turret and allows his team to move up to that turret, you kind of have to respect the curtain call bullets coming out, because they can deal a lot of damage, especially with the lethality changes. So Braum being locked in now does give them the opportunity to just stand their ground under a turret. You slam the Unbreakable down, you make sure that it's difficult for Jhin to land those key shots. I really like him into that scenario.
Yeah, we do have a Tahm Kench as well to round out the bottom lane of MnM. Something to keep him rather safe. I mean, you could have kind of pinned it on him already. He's going to be one of the major carries. He's such an early game power spike at the moment on this current patch. And Ashe to round out Barrage's bottom lane as well, with Italia and Riven being banned away by, from Sleeping there.
Wow, okay, so I think they may be looking to limit Sleeping's top lane champion pool right now, because the Riven ban is something that is maybe a little bit more specific. Interesting that you picked the Ashe into the Jhin when you see the Tahm Kench already locked in. Tahm Kench is obviously considered a really good pick into Ashe for the specific reason that you can devour a target that gets hit by the arrow. So the arrow comes out, it's a very good disengage for you. So if anyone gets singled out like Jhin, he's likely going to get bailed out of that scenario. But it is generally considered a little bit like Nami was, for instance. It's a good way of shutting down Jin's ultimate. Jhin opens the ultimate, you see where the indicator is, you fire arrow right down the middle, and if it lands on Jhin, it lands on Jhin and stops him from performing his ultimate action.
Ding, ding, ding. 100 points if you do manage to knock him out of the ultimate. Jax is again going to get targeted towards sleeping. A lot of top lane priority bans going towards him. You got to think maybe it's something quite scary, but a lot of left in the wheelhouse of top lane. Nah, for example,
Jarvan,
like you were speaking about.
Jarvan, which works really well with the Ashe there. I like that a lot. I think especially with, you know, if this is indeed an Orianna lock-in, as like I said, we don't usually like to talk about it, but there's such good combinations with like both Corki and Orianna with that Jarvan pickup. So Jarvan is still open for sleeping, and we have seen Jarvan work with the lethality changes as well, the ability to just one-bomb someone, especially a Jhin who does retain a lot of immobility, especially during his ultimate. That kind of screams for Jarvan to just go for the EQ combo and try and get the slam down dunk with the lethality Duskblade.
Makes a lot of sense, but they will pick up Corki instead. Not someone that builds lethality, or at least I haven't seen it yet. More sticking to the traditional build, Trinity Force, Infinity Edge, maybe going for a rapid fire cannon somewhere there in there as well. Rivdi is going to get his hands on that Camille, that big duelish champion up in that top lane. Now sleeping, he's got this last pick here, and you can kind of see what Barrage have done. They've said, okay, you've banned out a lot of champions in my hero pool, but guess what? We're going to find a counter pick for you now. Orianna to round
jungle
out.
as well for Candy Floss. Yeah. That's something that I have not yet seen for Cho'Gath yet. I've only just seen him going mid and top lane. Top lane wasn't so successful, but mid lane did work out quite well for ESL on Monday. Interesting that we're going to see now Candy Floss pilot that from the jungle. We'll have to see what the clear speed is like with Vorpal Spikes. I imagine it would be okay, as our compositions are getting rounded out here, Jaws. Yeah,
so Vorpal Spikes now, instead of being a continuous active, it's actually three basic attacks, yeah, which do percentage maximum HP damage with 3%, and it increases by 0.5% for every fee stack you get as well. So you do have to hit the Vorpal Spikes, though. It's not as easy as you think it is, especially in kind of these early game skirmishes. But to round out the composition, Barrage will pick up themselves that Renekton.
Now with Cho'Gath, you can actually stack on your jungle as well, remember. You stack on epic monsters, so that includes your red buff and your blue buff, I believe. So you can stack on those, and it will allow you to go beyond 6, which is 6 is the maximum if you're just stacking off regular minions, essentially. Obviously, if Cho'Gath wants to take blue buff and feast it away from Orianna, you doubt that would happen, but he has the option to make invades later on, get free feast stacks, so keep your eyes on him post 6. Doubt we'll see too much of that, but is a little thing worth noting. And that is our compositions all locked up and ready to go, Jaws.
Absolutely. I mean, both of the compositions, in all honesty, look pretty terrifying, but
the siege.
Give it to me. What is your prediction for this game? I mean, MnM, you know, I want to look at this Candy Floss. It's going to have to be him. Eyes are going to have to be on this Cho'Gath jungle. We'll see how he does fare against Barrage.
Well, we'll start with Barrage, because this is the underdog team, and it's worth to have a look at what their win conditions are going to be in this game. You've got an Ashe, a Braum, a Corki, a Renekton, and you've got... what's in the jungle? I've just completely forgotten.
Gragas.
Gragas. So you've got Gragas in the jungle. That's basically a really good siege composition coming out. You can always walk up to a turret. You've got space created with the Gragas naturally. Obviously, Corki creates space with his missile barrage. They can step up the turrets. They've got lots of ability to just get free damage onto those turrets. So that's potentially what they'll be looking for as the game progresses. Renekton is going to eventually be drawn out of a split push scenario, because he will not, for the whole game, be able to split push versus a Camille. As much as you'd like to think so as a Renekton, at some point, post level 12, he's going to start to fall off a little bit. Camille will start to take the advantage in the side lane, and Rifty will do what Rifty does best and search for those 1v1 duels.
Well, we'll have to see if he does pan out against the Renekton, because that matchup, quite volatile, I'd say.
Definitely early game.
Yeah, exactly. Early game, right? We'll have to... What is your prediction, though? You're going to have to round it out to me.
MnM.
MnM?
Yeah.
I think so, too. I think MnM for both our sides. But you can join the chatter as well over on Twitter. Hashtag ESL Prem and tell us what you think of this match. We're going to start off with the camera firmly placed on Candy Floss on that Cho'Gath. Patch 7.14. It's looking to be a very scary one.
I mean, MnM and BRG's or Barrage's composition do pretty similar things if you look at them in the grand scheme of things. You'd say the engage is slightly better for BRG just because you have the Ashe arrow, so that's always a really good, solid way to find a fight if you need to. But both MnM and Barrage are going to be looking to siege in some form. Both the Orianna and the Jhin ultimate will create space in the turrets, which obviously then allows you... When I say create space, it basically means forcing the enemy away from their tier 1 turret. Or to whatever turret you're trying to siege, essentially. So that space that it creates by forcing them away will then allow you to get those basic attacks down, and that allows you to effectively siege.
Effectively siege, I think, is the appropriate term there. I mean, MnM, let's have a look at their composition coming into these team fights, because it all really does pin on how Candy Floss and Rifty interact with them. just because Candyfloss, he's going to take a little while to kind of walk up to someone like Monk, who's going to be sitting far and off in the backline in order to not get touched. But we've seen Cho'Gath recently actually building Righteous Glory as his first or second item just to kind of make those early game plays.
Yeah, basically what you generally tend to see from a Cho'Gath is he builds the Righteous Glory, just runs towards the backline, and then just tries to eat the AD carry, or eat someone of value. Remember, you've got both Agua and Monk, who you would consider pretty good value targets. And I think something that's understated about Cho'Gath's potential in teamfights is you can just chunk tanks for true damage. Sometimes just literally eating the first thing that's threatening your AD carry can be the most influential way to play a teamfight, because you could just walk up to, say, Renekton or Gragas. They're trying to get onto the backline on top of your AD carry. You feast them, suddenly maybe a third to a half of the HP pool disappears, and then that allows your AD carry, especially lethality-based AD carry like Jhin, just to finish the day. So definitely think MnM have a good team fight when it comes to that. And obviously Orianna makes a team fight composition. Orianna is the team fight queen, if you look at it that way.
Well, that's the problem with these champions that we haven't seen in a long time. You can imagine players only just starting to practice and play on this new patch. They would obviously come out last week. Maybe they haven't seen a lot of Cho'Gath. There's been a lot of rumors, will he be picked up in competitive? We're seeing him right here. And not having that experience playing against him for such a long time, like you would a Jhin and an Ashe, for example, can lead to sometimes it being a little shaky.
Something that we haven't touched on yet is that we talked about the ability for Cho'Gath to run at a carry and eat them. Think about the combination between the Hextech Ultimatum and Cho'Gath. You then put an area of the field where a key target can't move out of, and then you literally walk, you know, into that area, the Hextech Ultimatum area, and you eat the AD carry. So or you eat whoever you've locked down. So there is a nice interaction there between Rifty and Candyfloss if it gets to a stage where that is a team fight. And obviously, if anybody tries to then protect the AD carry, the Orianna Ball is a really good way of stopping collapse onto the carry that's getting focused by the Cho'Gath.
Yeah, we jump straight back in the game in action, however. And that, I mean, you could kind of look at that interaction and say that might actually just happen at level 6 on this Renekton. Because Rifty, we've kind of pinned him this lane bully in which he is, trying to bully Sleeping right now, having a little bit of a tough time, had to take Corrupting Potion first. But as soon as Candyfloss hits level 6, and something that he's very good at is lane prioritization, you can imagine maybe Rifty being that first lane to gank.
And Rifty is very, very good 1v1 duelist. I've heard a little bit about Sleeping before. I know that he's a very talented top laner, so we should keep our eyes on him, because I think he could be a real threat as the game progresses. But remember, he's not going to want to have to sit in a side lane forever versus Rifty. That's a matchup that he's eventually going to lose just to pure outscaling. This is what I imagine would happen in the bot lane, by the way, as well, Jaws. Ashe is going to shove a Jhin in at the start of the game, and Jhin will find it very difficult to trade at this point.
Oh, hey, Candyfloss. Oh, doesn't quite get the steal with the Feral Scream. But yeah, let's touch on the bottom lane. I mean, Monk, he's 24 CS now. Zandia is 18 CS, shoved underneath his turret. Shoka just putting so much damage down onto Tahm Kench. Candyfloss is going to find himself a Fredster, does use that body slam to get away over the wall, but that level advantage already showing. Candyfloss having his blue buff, Fredster is expired there. Rifty, again, dueling Sleeping. This is not going to be the first time we're going to see this. There's going to be a solo kill. I'm going to call it now. One of these two are going to find it.
Definitely. And Rifty seems to be taking the upper hand, despite being behind in CS because he was getting bullied early on. He hit that post-level 4 small spike, give him 2 points in the precision protocol, allows him to duel a little bit more effectively against Sleeping. But Sleeping must have taken a couple of bad trades, I feel, because definitely feel like it's not something that would go heavily in Camille's favor super early on here.
Now we're having a look at Monk. 10 CS lead,
up, yeah.
Absolutely huge. And 5 minutes as well, that is massive. And Monk is one of those guys, and I mentioned it pre this game, I don't want to say he's a feast or famine player, but when he gets on these massive carries like Draven, for example, we've seen him in competitive before, he really does pop off, or he just kind of does nothing in these team fights.
Well, I think he's been doing a great job thus far. Zandia, a guy who I have known for his mid lane play more than anything, seems to be really struggling up against Monk in the bot lane. If Monk can continue this pressure, Fredster can set up for a dive, especially post 6 against this Ashe. And then they could just completely dominate Zandia and Adam. I think Candyfloss is going to have to keep attention to that lane, because it is something that could eventually cause MnM to just hemorrhage map pressure. If they lose that bot lane tier 1, they rotate early, they take MnM, or they take Rifty out of that side lane matchup against Sleeping.
Oh, Fredster is coming towards Rifty. Nice use of the hook shot there, and he will get out alive. Fredster now already forcing Rifty to back here. Rifty, no potions left, so is kind of forced at this point, and hopefully has got a little bit of cash in his back pocket, because he needs that Tiamat to farm up against the Renekton only just managed to get the Ruby Crystal, even prioritizing early armor there as well.
Yeah.
Really worried about this 1v1 duel potential.
Well, it is difficult for a Camille to match up into a Renekton at this stage of the game. There's the
hang on a minute,
Shockwave.
Shockwave on Joe. Energy is following up with the Ghost as well. Fredster doesn't really want to go for a body slam back, knowing he doesn't have any follow-up. And seeing Candy Floss on the side, definitely not someone you want to mess with.
Candy Floss nearly level 6 as well. That bot lane matchup starting to punish Zandia more and more. Remember, as a Jhin and a Tahm Kench, you are going to struggle to push the wave against the Nash. Shogun's got such presence in these side brushes that Adam can't step up because, again, very difficult for him to do much against the Braum. And the pure range advantage with volley and the basic attacks against Zandia at this stage in the game is just too much for him to cope with. As Adam goes to take a honey fruit just to get some health back.
And Adam is even taking Ignite in this matchup as well. Really looking for that heavy lane pressure and dominance, but there's nothing there for him. Monk is keeping him back with the volleys, and all a Shogun does is sit in the brush, wait for Adam to step up, boom, you get a Winter's Bite to the face, and then he's forced to back off. 20
CS advantage now for Monk. This is a big, big lane that MnM need to pay attention to, because if they continue this, it's going to be harder and harder for them to hit the crucial item spikes for Zandia, obviously one of them being the Duskblade that, despite changes, still very, very strong. But this is, I mean, this is really, really bad for MnM because they aren't exactly dominating the other lanes either. Except for mid lane, there is a fairly decent CS advantage for Energy. But top lane, Rifty is starting to struggle, and especially you would expect that at this stage of the game. And Candy Floss is yet to have a huge impact anywhere, despite getting some early vision down, despite taking a very early duel versus Fredster. Also going to lose his red buff here, Jaws.
Yeah, he's just going to recall after taking that Gromp. He did hit that level 6 near that mid lane. Has now able to make any use of it just yet, but still getting that 1 feast stack is very important. Does have the 0.5% scaling on the maximum HP damage on the Vorpal spikes, but like we mentioned, maybe Candy Floss, his main target in terms of lanes is going to be that top lane and Sleeping, because Rifty, he's that level 7, he's got a Hextech Ultimatum, but Sleeping, you can see him now kind of handily dueling with him, although Rifty, again, once more, just trading in, has got further, so there's a bit of extra damage in his kit. One of
the major things that I think will be a good win condition for MnM here is getting Rifty ahead. Because remember, that's the one thing that the Barrage composition might not be able to deal with, especially as they've got a Corki and a Renekton. If Renekton gets behind to Camille, can't 1v1 him. Corki isn't exactly a better matchup. Very easy for Camille to keep on top of the Corki. She can just follow him down with the hook shot, get him locked up with the Hextech Ultimatum so he can't escape. So Rifty's got to be careful here.
Does. He's still pushing forward, though. Both of them have further. There's no... We don't want to go grass. We don't want to go anything like that. We want to just fight. Hookshot to safety, but burning through all his corrupting potions here really speaks to him, like you said, as a duelist. Fred's down the bottom side.
Something that I didn't actually touch on.
Hang on a minute. Hang on a second. Ammon gets stunned up. Zandia's going to get left to safety with that cask backwards. Exhaust onto Adam. Is going to get Winter's Bite. He's going to get stunned up. This could be first blood. Here onto Shogun, though. Keeps him alive. Monk trying to find something. The grenade doesn't quite catch him. Shogun tanks the Ignite as well. Zandia hasn't got any mana to finish his ultimate. Candy Floss is here. Energy has rotated down to that bottom side.
Down the bot.
Oh, Monk goes down. Energy finds the orb. Dissonance to finish the kill. First blood to MnM.
What a rotate from MnM. I don't know how they survived that bot lane dive there. Monk may be too greedy for that final basic attack on Adam, but Candy Floss and Energy's response was just so good. Neither Joe nor Sleeping couldn't because he didn't have his teleport, but Joe decided that it was just too risky for him to actually teleport in. I don't believe he had enough mana to have an impact regardless. But I was going to touch on this just beforehand as Rifty takes another 1v1 that he just still ends up losing here. We'll have to be super careful because the dive potential is very strong right now post 6 from Renekton. That's why Rifty's probably going to back off.
Oh. Joe using that package to safety, doesn't want to mess with Energy. Did look like he actually used the Shockwave there as well. Didn't blow it in that top lane duel, only needed the command attack and dissonance.
This is something that a lot of good Orianna players will do. If they don't feel that they need to use the Shockwave in an impending skirmish, you just use it to take in a favorable trade in lane. Very difficult to trade against the Shockwave because of the amount of damage it does especially. And the cooldown on the ability is actually quite low. So you can get away with a trade in lane. It's something that I sort of saw Faker do all the time on Orianna in lane. He would literally just search for a trade with Shockwave, win that trade, then have lane pressure just as a result of that because again, you know, you don't regularly heal up a crazy amount in the mid lane. So it's just a good way to take an effective trade of which you know that Shockwave will come back on cooldown again, usually by the time that you need it.
Absolutely, and the best mid players will always say and kind of mention, you draw their jungler to their lane, it gives all your other lanes very easy time. Doesn't mean there's any random Graggers appearing in your lane at all. Energy hasn't really had that, neither's Joe. Rifty wants more, chasing Sleeping out of lane, has picked up that Phage. Is going to be able to trade a little bit more favorably, but with that Kindle gem, Sleeping is already on his way to that Black Cleaver, plus us teleport. Rifty's looking in a bad spot here, 10 CS down 2.
Yeah, he had to teleport back, and remember he did lose about a wave and a half to the tower, so at that point he was even. He just took a pretty poor trade and didn't back off enough early, didn't have his teleport to get back either, so you'd say they're moderately even at this point in time, but yeah, there's a small advantage to Renekton, but we did think that would be the advantage as what is going on here.
Has found Shogun. Hang on a second. Glacial Fissure is going to knock up 2 people. The Ash Arrow comes through. It does hit Zandia. Fred's is going to join the fight. Volley's just going to scare them off for the moment. Candyfloss with the really aggressive pathing there. Ended up behind them somehow.
I think he's taking the right approach because this is a lane that needs remedying for MnM. Actually, Rifty, I think he has to be so careful about the way he approaches. Sleeping has yet to use Dominus, and Rifty almost feels like he's trying to bait it out, at which point he might have to use his flash to escape. So, again, another trade, just uses the shockwave to take the trade.
I mean, he has flash, he could just chase him out here. And, oh, Joe, that was painful. Does use the flash as well. Took a little bit too unfavorable trade there. Like you said, the shockwave used for the lane pressure this time just results in the kill.
It's the lane that MnM have a lot of hope in as well, because you're looking at the fact that, you know, he's well ahead in CS. He feels like he's winning every trade. He's now got 4 stacks on his Dark Seal. And Orianna absolutely crucial to their ability to provide an effective threat on Siege and fight an effective team fight too. Orianna kind of is the crux of a team fight. We've got to fight in the bottom.
Oh yeah, Monk, Adam has got that grey health, does end up popping it. Here comes the teleport as well from Renekton. They're in a lot of trouble now. Anger does devour. Shogun ignites him as well. 1-for-1 trade, but Monk, but more importantly, picking up that kill. Teleport was cancelled from Sleeping up in that top side, but Monk picking up his first kill. Ski's going to be more than happy with that. Yeah,
absolutely. Monk is one of the major areas of Barrage who is actually functioning incredibly well right now, and Zandia still struggling in terms of CS. You can see this is bringing Candyfloss down to this lane. The problem for Barrage is, yes, okay, Candyfloss seems to be spending the most of his time in the bot lane because he has to. The problem for Barrage is they aren't exactly winning their other lanes, and they're not exactly using Fredster to get advantages in those other lanes either. Although I say that, Sleeping takes an excellent trade versus Rifty there, and again, Rifty does have to be careful. This is still a Renekton. Very, very strong in the early game. You have to respect his trading potential. Don't think you can trade into effectively as a Camille. Oh, it does stun him up. Still has Dominus. Rifty does use that hook shot to get away. Very close to going down to Sleeping there. He seems so reluctant to use his Dominus, Jaws. If I were him, I would have popped that engaged, and then I probably would have picked up the kill due to the pure AoE damage. But it has allowed him to still effectively have a tower dive tool, and maybe all he was after is getting the pressure on this tower, forcing Rifty to back away once again. The better Sleeping does, the better it is for the Barrage composition as a whole, because they need to have at least a couple of lanes that are winning to make it difficult for Candyfloss to spend all of his time in bot lane, because that is the lane that seems to be the worst for MnM right now. And it does. And speaking about worse for wear, Sleeping up on the top side does find himself on the wrong side of a Hextech ultimatum. Candyfloss is there as well, and Rifty finally wins the trade, picking himself up the kill, but Candyfloss was needed in that exchange. Now MnM don't have that support they maybe want in the bottom side. Monk taking a lot of damage again, is looking to get devoured. Glacial Fissure, Greyhound still available for Adam, only just manages to get it. Monk using that heal to get a bit of distance. Now Zandia's going to come forward, flash, heal, Monk heals, picks up the kill on Adam, flash forward for Shogun. Oh my goodness, Zandia's going to go down. Turned that fight around. Now Monk with a double kill. He's 3-1, 20 CS ahead. That might have looked like a bad trade for MnM, and it was because it resulted in the double kill, but it's because they wanted to play around the Duskblade spike that had just been picked up by Jhin. They thought that was going to be enough for them to just focus down the Ashe, but again, you can see how good Shogun is on this Braum at denying those kind of focuses with the Unbreakable. And MnM at this point in time, they're just going to have to race their other lanes. They need to get ahead as much as they can. I think they are going to get this first turret of the game in the mid lane, but they have to be so careful now. MnM's bot lane are going to be on a wire. They're going to have to turtle up. MnM are going to have to win this from the top side of the map, and again, I think one of the major wins for them is going to be Rifty and his ability to split push versus this Renekton as the game goes on, because this bot lane now, it has been losing since the start. Candyfloss has invested so much time into it, Jaws, and it hasn't resulted in any tangible gain for the MnM squad. Well, Energy's rotating towards the top side as well, or at least he was. Has got that shockwave, but the problem with Rifty is that he doesn't have Hextech ultimatum, so therefore really can't duel this Renekton as he's got that the Black Cleaver, which he only just recently picked up.
we haven't seen Candyfloss really impact the game at all. He's sitting at 1 assist. He's put a lot of pressure in the top side, but
you say that. I actually
where.
think Candyfloss has had a huge impact, but it doesn't necessarily result in him actually having tangible gains in terms of KDA. He has been all over the map, though. He basically shepherded that bot lane. Like, this bot lane was completely shepherded. The one benefit now for Barrage is the fact that they now can make the rotations. And remember, rotations are generally dictated by how well your bot lane are doing. If your bot lane are doing well, you usually generate pressure across the map very easily because they shove lanes in so well, because obviously it's a duo lane, and they take towers so well because your AD is one of your best champions at taking towers. So in general, macro pace is dictated by your bot lane's ability to rotate and take quick turrets. And when your bot lane is ahead by this much, like Monk is on this Ashe, it will allow him to be super effective at just making very quick rotations and attempting to put pressure onto turrets.
Well, let's look at the gold then. And we're speaking about turrets. There's a lot of gold hidden away in those. 1 for 1 thus far, but that middle lane just going down for MnM. It's so well going down for Barrage in the favor of MnM. It's just so big now. Leaves Energy a lot of time to kind of roam. Sleeping though.
Did he just prop Ruthless Predator on the turret?
To get the double hit.
Yes, okay, yeah. He must have just looked to cancel his auto attack.
And now Rifty is going to match him in that bottom side, but already getting a lot of damage down is going to help Sleeping in the long run. You can see 2/3 of the HP already gone. That Black Cleaver double longsword ripping through it.
Super slow rotation from an MnM though, Jaws. Super slow rotation. They were well off the mark, and now they're going to have to put their bot lane into a poor matchup once more. And I like this from Fredster. Fredster is making a move to the top lane, knowing that they need to play around Monk and Shogun now, because Monk and Shogun are going to dictate the pace of this game for Barrage because they are so far ahead. And like I said, they are the best lane to make effective moves with because they are the lane that will shove waves probably the quickest and the lane that will have the most impact on structures.
I mean, look at the power spike as well coming out from Monk. Blade the Ruin King finished. He's even got Azil, Berserker Greaves. And then you look at the side of MnM. Zandy has only got the Dustblade. He has got a Serrated Dirt there as well, and that is a lot of early game power, but he's just not made it work, and Monk continuing to pressure him with almost a 40 CS lead. Fredster coming through, though. He is just going to walk through that Tri-Brush. Grey Health for Amaz is available. Nice body slam into the package. Corki comes in, picks up the double kill. Barrage making the proactive plays we all wanted. Energy actually ghosting up here to try and save that turret. He's done it for now, but that bottom lane going down. And the double kill going over to Corki. Barrage really stepping back in.
MnM absolutely hemorrhaging on the map right now. That bot lane has been an absolute open sore for the team. And I tell you what, Barrage have played excellently around Monk this game. I think they've been knowing where their win condition lies. Every other lane has not exactly been dominant for them, especially that mid lane. But Agua Joe, excellent rotation up. I definitely think Rifty chose a wrong time to try and go toe-to-toe with this Renekton because, you know, like I said, finish that Black Cleaver. Isn't even going to stick around to take the turret. Did have time to potentially do so as Candyfloss starts to struggle here. Blade to the... He gets the E.
You say struggle, but really Cho'Gath's got a lot of true damage. Flashes forward, gets the Devour. But look at this turret now. Candyfloss hasn't got really anything else apart from the use of his ultimate to teamfight with. Only can clear the waves at this point.
The rotations have been so good from Barrage, and I think it's all been facilitated by this bot lane doing so well. And again, like you said, Barrage played around it so nicely. Caught MnM off guard, and Zandia and Adam, if they get stuck in that 2v2 matchup trying to defend a tower, they are going to get dove again, they are going to lose again, and Barrage are going to get more on the map. I also didn't talk about the double teleport that you're seeing coming out. It's something that I wanted to touch on ages ago, where we got so sidelined with all the action. Agua Joe has taken teleport on Corki, which is just not something you often see on Corkis. Corkis generally tend to take a more defensive summoner spell in lane like heal. Gone for the double teleport, which does mean that Barrage can look to 1-3-1 if they want to take Orianna out of the teamfight situations, because the best way to stop a team-fighting team composition with an Orianna or a group-up and siege composition is by splitting them up through a split-push strategy. So that's potentially where Agua Joe wants to go towards this game. He wants to try and move into a split-push scenario where they can make Orianna less effective because she gets stuck trying to clear waves in the side lane.
Steaming taking a lot of damage now from Rifty. Rifty says this is my lane now. Maybe even going for it. Oh, Dominus actually popped by Sleeping. We spoke about his reluctantness holding that one off, and does end up popping it just to prevent that turret dive from Rifty, but still has that X-Tech ultimatum. This is exactly what he was trying to do time and time again, trying to bait that out, and finally makes it work.
Rifty needs to win from this point. I don't know how he lost in that solo lane fight, but he needs to win now. He's got a spike of his Triforce. Got another engage happening here, but nothing going to come of it too much. The anti-siege just isn't good enough from Barrage, and somehow MnM grouping up and making their team composition work has resulted in them picking a turret, but it does mean they lose pressure in the mid lane, which is going to result in mid lane tier 1 going down to Barrage as well.
Yeah, tier 2, tier 1 in the top side even is very, very weak. Abyssal Void actually coming towards the mid lane. Adam maybe looking for a little fight here. Hextech Ultimatum goes down onto Joe. Rifty just finding this duel. There's the shockwave, there's the kill. Energy finds his third of the game.
So when MnM group up as a unit, especially that 4 unit, you can see the pressure they generate on turrets because of how scary energy is right now. With that ball, obviously this Orianna that's fed, she creates space because you've got to be afraid and respect the ball, literally respect the ball. And then they can move up to the turret with the Cho'Gath and the Orianna, and it gives free time for Zandia just to get those basic attacks onto the turret. But again, the way that Barrage want to play around that is by having Agua eventually move into a side lane, Sleeping stay in a side lane and go for a 1-3-1, and then just try and generate pressure on the map. MnM found their way back in though, and it's because Barrage have not been effectively able to play around Monk as much as they were previously. They kind of lost their momentum when Energy moved up to the top lane to defend that tier 1 in the top lane. They managed to stop the momentum of Barrage, and by stopping the momentum allowed them to regroup, hit more item spikes, group up as a unit and make those sieges happen.
Well, finally the third tier 1 and the final one will go down for MnM. They are just going to respond that with a tier 1 of their own, but you can see on the top side, Monk and Shogun still pushing. Ash has got that rapid fire cannon now, or no, so Runans even, so he's going to be able to chunk through these turrets pretty quickly.
Energy might have to pop his Ghost to make it here.
He has actually popped Ghost, yes, he's running in, hurtling 100 miles an hour, has got Shockwave, doesn't want to use it just yet, but Arrow going a little bit wide, NG goes to the Shockwave, Monk flashes it, still taking tower aggro though, Blade Ruin King used for the heal, here comes Fredster, manages to pick up the kill, and now Candy Floss in a 1v4 situation, just getting chunked out, devoured by Adam. Don't know how you fit Cho'Gath in your belly like that, Tom Kench, but you managed to make it work. Barrage, 4 members in the top side now. 5 members, I can't count. Rifty is looking for a flank. Candy Floss getting chunked out. They're just going to just go forward straight on top of it. Valkyrie. Oh, Adam, that's not going to save him at all. Sleeping is going to pick up the kill on Adam. And that'll be another kill going over to the Corki with 2 falling for MnM. Overextension there. And Barrage might just go for Baron.
What I really like about what Barrage are doing here is they're saying, okay, split push obviously isn't working for us. Our solo laners are not functioning as they should do. Agua is too far behind in real terms versus the Orianna. And Sleeping, obviously, at that point was starting to struggle against Rifty in the side lane. They said, wait a second, we've got a really strong Ashe. Let's literally just group up around Ashe as Baron goes down for Barrage. Group up around Ashe and play around Monk again, and look what happened. Massive teamfight win for them.
Oh, hey Joe, Rifty's found him. Hextech Ultimatum straight under the turret. You're not going anywhere. Rifty picks up a nice solo kill in the mid. Reduces that Baron counter to only 4 members. But on a Corki, you're probably going to be with someone else, so it's not going to matter in the long run.
Only a 5k gold lead at this point though, George. It's not actually humongous given the way that the game has been going. It's decent for Barrage, and again, this is a Barrage roster who has obviously been shaped up. Sleeping, a great addition to the top lane. Monk has been performing incredibly well. Agua Joe has admirably found his way back into the game after having a really tough laning phase versus Energy. But I think MnM are going to be looking at this game and saying, we really struggled in the bot lane here, chaps. This has been really, really tough for us. And losing that hard in the bot lane has essentially lost them the game as it stands. Candy Floss moving in here.
Candy Floss advancing. Here comes Rifty on the side. Just get instantly exhausted. Look at Monk kiting back heel. Candy Floss can't even touch him. Adam in the backside did use the Abyssal Void. Just can't really do much. Monk just tears him down. There comes Joe packaging forward. Shockwave from Energy misses completely. And Zandia will go down anyway. 2 members down for MnM. And Barrage are going to push onto this tier 2 turret.
Oh, Barrage. Where did this come from? MnM, one of the best teams in the United Kingdom, is getting schooled by a new roster for the Barrage lineup. It has looked fantastic for them thus far. Monk has played an excellent game as they go in.
Looking good. Shogun flashing forwards. Oh, Energy, that's a lot of damage. Pops the Dominus as well. In the back line, though, Joe's getting chased down by Rifty. He finds the kill, but now you've got to deal with Monk and Fredster. Monk just actually going to completely ignore him. Nice flash from Rifty from the hook shot. There's the Hextech Ultimatum. He finds the shutdown on Monk. Fredster, are you going to be able to deal with him? I don't think so. And now Candy Floss and Adam and Zandia are just going to deal with Sleeping in the base. MnM, they don't want to lose their inhibitor just yet.
Rifty doesn't want to lose this game. Jumps into the backline, essentially 1v3s. But that is what a Camille can do to your backline, and that is something that we talked about MnM in terms of their teamfight prowess. Monk, very low mobility, ability to shut down Agua Joe as well. He's finished up and he's got the Bramble Vest too. Obviously very effective against these basic attack focused carries like Corki. Little bit basic attacks in his kit, and obviously Ashe almost entirely basic attack focused. And Rifty, massive, massive, massive comeback for MnM, all facilitated by their top laner, who has been arguably playing very, very well for the MnM roster. It's just that bot lane which has been struggling for them.
It really has, and that's exactly the thing we touched on in the Champion Select. Can Rifty get ahead in these early duels? Oh, hang on a okay.
Oh.
Overextension there by him, and Joe will end up taking back the buff, which is rightfully his anyway.
A little bit overconfident, you'd have to say, from Rifty there, as Candyfloss is going to take that red buff away. He'll get the stack from the Feast too. Zandy are not going to be gifted that just yet.
We said in Champion Select, these early game duels with Sleeping and Rifty will kind of dictate the pace of this game, and it has to the extent where Rifty is now jumping in the backline, one-shotting Monk almost. Joe's having an incredibly hard time as well, but you've got to remember, Sleeping had total control of that lane as well. Even had the Blade of the Ruined King to be able to duel him.
You hit the nail on the head there, Joyce. This is a build path that is not often seen on Renekton's. You generally tend to see them go Black Cleaver, Titanic Hydra, and leave it at that. He's gone for the Blade of the Ruined King, essentially to buy more time for himself on this Renekton to keep Rifty at bay in the side lanes, which is really interesting because it shows that Sleeping himself values his ability to 1v1 Rifty and be able to sort of maintain pressure in duels just to prevent a win condition from MnM, which is really interesting because I think that's a really intelligent way to play this game right now. It also means you can kite and do more damage to Cho'Gath, and something that we've seen this Blade of the Ruined King do for Ashe is the ability to just kite Cho'Gath as he tries to run towards them. By the way, Cho'Gath's got Warmogs and... oh, Candyfloss has got Warmogs and Gargoyle Stoneplate, not got the Righteous Glory, which I feel could have been a major pickup for him, given how hard he has found it to get on top of Monk this game.
Oh, look at his health. It's so terrifying, but 4,500 HP on Cho'Gath with only 2 health items. Oh, 3, I guess, if you count the Cinderhold
there as well. You do
I mean,
I guess you do count the Cinderhold.
I guess you do, yeah. It does give a lot of HP. Well, Barrage are going to take this Dragon, and I think you're right. I think maybe actually picking up the Righteous Glory fairly early, or at least soon. Rifty going for another duel onto Sleeping. Blade the Ruined King still for Sleeping available. Hextech Ultimatum is going to come down. Dominus is going to get propped in advance, but Rifty taking the kill even under the turret. Monk's arrow went a little bit wide. Rifty finds himself another solo kill.
Okay, we talked about the potential for the Blade of the Ruined King to help him in a 1v1 duel. That's kind of what I guess it was designed to do here. You just generally do not go that on Renekton. Didn't help him whatsoever. I actually think that Bramble Vest was a great pickup for him because, again, with the Blade of the Ruined King, you actually become a bit more basic attack focused for Sleeping because of the attack speed, and that seems to have valued Rifty a bit more. Maybe the lack of defenses is a bit naive, you would argue, from Sleeping here, as Rifty does have that true damage in tow too.
This game has gone completely full circle now with
I think we've gone.
MnM.
I think we've gone more than just full circle. We've done several circles.
Several circles. The most important thing is on the circle side of MnM. Shockwave is going to miss Monk. However, Candyfloss isn't just running at him. Gargoyle Stoneplate for the extra HP is going to get devoured by Adam. Adam's just going to get launched away by Fredster. You see that cask, maybe not something he wanted to do. Teleport was channeled by Sleeping there as well, so hasn't got a big tool for that. Hasn't got that to use later. He wants to go on the split push.
I'd argue I mean, Candyfloss may have to figure out eventually this is just not going to work for him. I think this has been 4 times now Candyfloss has looked at trying to flash devour the Ashe, or sorry, flash feast the Ashe, and it hasn't worked out. Got to give credit to Adam though. Every single time that Candyfloss has got caught in the middle of the no man's land, in the middle of a team fight, somehow Tahm Kench has devoured that Cho'Gath, which, you know, for us it looks hilarious because of the model sizes, but managed to do it and managed to get out. If Fredster had just managed to get that ultimate a bit better placed, as I think Adam actually flashed through it, he might have been able to isolate 2 members.
You've got to imagine now he's going towards Righteous Glory. I mean, that is the build path. You can build the Ruby Sightstone into the Crystalline Bracer, which does build into the Righteous Glory. So I think he now needs to build it. And I think he's kind of realized now, I'm not actually being able to... I can't touch Monk at this point. And Adam, with that massive button that says, bail me out, please, is working time and time again, yes, but... Oh, hang on a minute. Arrow onto Energy. Oh, sidesteps one, but gets caught by the arrow. Sidestep the rocket from Joe and took an arrow to the face. Nice lined up skill shots there from Barrage. Will find himself a kill, and the Baron is going to get started up as well. And look how fast it's getting chunked out.
Oh, it gets absolutely destroyed by Barrage. Rifty looking to get something in the side lane here. I think he'll pick up 1 turret for his woes, but Barrage playing excellently around that Ashe engage to isolate Energy, who doesn't have to cleanse, by the way, because didn't really need it in the early game. Went for the Ghost to give him better abilities to maneuver in team fights and skirmishes. but does pay for it in the late game if he does get caught out by the Ash Arrow. No way to bail him out. There's no Mikhails, doesn't naturally build a QSS because it doesn't really build anything to anything AP focused, doesn't have a Banshee's Veil, for instance, which could be a good pickup here for Energy as this game progresses, that sort of get out of jail free card on the ability cancel.
I mean, what's interesting about Energy as a player as well, fantastic control mage player, but also plays very supportive focus.
Yeah.
He's got Lulu in his wheelhouse, Karma's there as well. His most fascinating build, whether you love it or hate it on the Lulu, is actually Nash's Tooth into a Lich Bane to go split push Lulu. Says he's done very, very well in solo queue, but we're not seeing it just yet. I'm kind of waiting later in the season.
We saw it this week, though, and it didn't do very well.
No, it didn't at all. We did completely the opposite of what you want a Lulu to do, to be honest, but it's quite interesting to still look at. Now Barrage, they are focusing towards the top side now. That massive minion wave is going to get escorted by Monk and Fredster, and now they're just going to look to siege up here. Yeah,
again, this Titanic Hydra now finished for Renekton. He's a bit tankier on that front line. Hasn't got any resistances apart from the Mercury treads, though, so always has to pay in mind that. But because of the size of this minion wave, it has to be respected, and the MnM roster now have to come as a unit. They do have really good anti-siege with the Orianna. She's one of the best wave clear champions in the game just because of the ability to non-committally clear waves with that ball. Braum doing his best to prevent the ball getting to the waves. Shogun has been kind of one of the unsung heroes of this game, you feel, as he's got also finished the, well, we've got double Knight's Vow. So one you imagine for Agua Joe, one you imagine for Monk.
And he's got 13 assists as well. Out of the 14 kills, he's been a part of every single one, bar one.
Has he actually used his Knight's Vow?
I don't think he has.
No.
I know Fredster has.
It looks like Agua Joe and Fredster have got theirs activated, but it doesn't look like Shogun and Monk have got theirs.
Oh, Rifty's found a duel in the middle lane. Sleeping now, chunking him out quite vigorously. Rifty's going to have to back off here. Very, very low HP. In fact, Candy Floss has found himself at the front of the fight once more. Gargoyle's Stoneblade does try and feast on Fredster, but that's really just going to go amiss. He's got a lot of HP.
Yeah, but that's what they want to be doing. I think that's where Candy Floss needs to migrate his play in this game. He needs to start saying, okay, with this Blade of the Ruin King, with this Braum, and everything else, it's very difficult for me to make that kind of play on Ashe. What I would love to see Candy Floss do is say, let's just chunk a frontline tank. Let's just pop that on Sleeping. Let's just pop that on Fredster and let our team do the work. We talked about Zandy being behind. He is starting to catch up now. 3 Item Spike, Ghostblade, Dustblade, and Infinity Edge. So that should start to do some serious work, even to the front line. And I say front line, we don't really have anybody with armor this game. There's almost no armor. You've got nothing on Gragas.
Uh-oh, Monk's in trouble. Hang on a second. Arrow onto Rifty, though. He's fighting back. Look at the lifesteal. Monk comes up really big, deterring Rifty. That was even a flashbone on him as well. 54-second death timer. Rifty, that over-aggression like we pinned on him earlier, has just come round to bite him.
Yeah, he tries to make these hero plays, but they don't always work out, and in this case, Monk just had his number with that Blade of the Ruin King. Rifty, not enough damage to one-bomb Monk at this point in time, especially through Shogun and the Knight's Vow coming out as well, which hasn't still... I don't know if it's just a bug, doesn't look like it's still been used yet.
You'd hope it has, but who knows. Adam maybe looking for a little bit of damage onto Shogun here, but Candy Floss once more just cannot enter these fights. And he's at that point in the game where he's not going to be getting a lot of gold at all. So you've got to think about the ability to actually engage in these team fights for Righteous Glory. If it's actually going to be there, but time Barrage take your entire base.
I definitely think Candy Floss needs to play a bit more of a supportive role now on this Cho'Gath, looking to make, you know, feral screens impactful in terms of disrupting the enemy team, facilitating Rifty, facilitating Energy, doing some peeling for these guys. Energy, I feel, is going to be the main carry as it stands. Zandia is starting to scale up, still 30 CS behind, but he has maintained that deficit the entire game, which means his farming rate has been equal to Monk ever since that laning phase, which is good for him, as he misses a couple of minions.
You praise him for his farming and then misses too.
Yeah, but again, you know, Zandia is starting to scale up, and Jhin in the late game can hit like a truck. Still very little armor being prioritized as well. I think it's maybe because they felt that Zandia just too far behind for them to worry about in terms of these team fight situations.
It's kind of insane. We looked at the draft phase and said, wow, okay, so they've got their hands on the Jhin. Rifty's got a duelist in the top lane. Candy Floss even got this Cho'Gath. and you have Tom Kench to bail you out of hooks, and now you look at the state of the game. We're 35 minutes in, there's a 6,000 gold lead here for Barrage. They've had multiple Barons. MnM just cannot find these entrances to the fight, and Zandia has been a non-factor as well on this Duskblade. The meme at the moment is the more Duskblades win, but at the moment what I'm seeing is MnM actually falling so far behind that Monk now is coming up as this true carry for Barrage.
Yeah, and he's got the Phantom Dancer as well, which means he's going to be even more powerful if Rifty decides to make those kind of plays towards the back line. So they're going to have to be very... I think they need to play this a bit more traditionally. They need to say, okay, let's peel backwards. Let's allow Oriana to try and get a good shockwave. We can tank up a bit on the front line, deal with these front line tanks because we've got a lethality-based carry. And remember, lethality-based carries do shred armor, even if there isn't any. And if there isn't any armor, it just does closer to true damage. So I'd love to see them sort of focus a bit more on sleeping, focus a bit more on Fredster in the front line, burn them out. And then there isn't anyone to peel for the Ash.
Ash arrows coming through, nice dodge. In fact, Joe just goes straight head first in. There comes the curtain call, it's going to get opened up. 1 shot, 2 shot on Joe. Fredster's going to tank the 3rd. Teleport in from Sleeping, is going to take the 4th here. Does have Flash Rifty in the sidelines, though. He's going to try and find a 1v4, but Sleeping comes in. Slice and dice your way back to the base. Rifty falls again. And now Barrage are in a 5v4.
We need that Righteous Glory. There's just no way for the team to follow up effectively as Tom Kench.
Adam gets jumped on, pops the Grey Health. Sleeping's going to come in. That Blade of the Rune King tearing them up, and Candyfloss gets a 2-man knock up there. Devouring Sleeping goes down into the GA. Barrage still pushing forward. That was a really big cooldown there used for Candyfloss. Means Barrage are just going to back off here and maybe look to take the lane priority.
Rifty really needs to think about where he's positioning when he goes for these flanks because the team just cannot pick up on them. It's another Knight's Vow for Candyfloss, another Knight's Vow that we're seeing in this game, a total of 4 now. And I imagine that one's going to be going on to Zandia, maybe double going on to Energy, you never know.
All the Knight's Vows. Your one beefy Knight. Speaking of beefy people, Candyfloss is going to get jumped. Don't get devoured by Adam again, but leaves your AD carry completely focused down. Barrage find the kill onto the Jhin, and now just chasing Adam. There's what we want to see, that Righteous Glory, but it's not on Candyfloss, it's on Fredster. They're going to chase that Catfish down and cut him up where he stands. They're going to have Catfish for dinner. Energy going to recall, hasn't got any mana, and this could be, once again, another Baron going over to Barrage.
Man, every single Baron in this game has been dictated by Barrage, and again, another member of MnM making a crucial mistake, and Rifty once more trying to go for the flank play, resulting in him getting collapsed on so easily by Barrage. So easily collapsed on, and that's something that is really worrying for MnM, because if Rifty makes these plays, if he's trying to team fight, he has to do it in a way that the team can catch up, and like we said, there isn't that Righteous Glory to accelerate the team to catch up on a Rifty flank. They need to do it in exactly the right position. Barrage have just looked more collectively playing around Monk this game, and I really like that. They have been playing around the guy who has been essentially carrying them from the get-go. And it's a worry for MnM, and even now, Rifty hasn't been able to do what Rifty generally tends to do in these games, which is find that split push pressure. He's been sectioned to a side lane and has tried to make a flank, and it just hasn't happened.
It looks like he's taken this game just maybe with an ounce of disrespect. I mean, saying, okay, guys, look, I can dive in on the back line. I'm just going to keep doing it until I make something work here. But time and time again, we've seen Barrage's composition not only just cut down Rifty in its prime, but really just focus on protecting Monk. Kiting back for him, I mean, we saw it down near the Krugs. Rifty jumped on Monk. Monk has got a lot of life still in his kit, but the amount of people that are there to peel for him is so easy for Rifty just to get almost one shot there with the amount of damage too. He's actually picked up the GA here, so he's going to get his second chance in these fights, but what's that actually going to make a difference?
I mean, Rifty is like, on Camille, is a little bit like Fiore, incredibly weak to hard CC. So if you lock him down with the Ruthless Predator, you lock him down with the Ash Arrow, you lock him down with the Body Slam, you lock him down with the Stun from the Braum, all of them are very, very good against a Camille. All of them are very, very good against a Camille.
Now Barrage just doing what they've been doing for about 5 to 10 minutes now, just sieging up MnM's base. MnM has just had no control over their own jungle. Rifty's still looking for these fights, but...
I mean, it's better that he looks for it in a side lane, though, because that's probably where he's going to do better, Jaws. Like I said, Camille sucks against hard CC for the most part. she becomes untargetable when she casts Tech Ultimatum, so you have to really time it exactly right.
Well, Dominus is going to get popped from sleeping. He might just look for the run down here. Rifty using that Hextech Ultimatum. They're going to go in for a proper 1v1 duel now. Teleport in from the Corki, but Rifty might just go down. Comes in with the Sheen proc. That's a lot of damage. Has still got the GA. He actually goes down to it. And now no, Joe just needs to wait round his corpse. Adam's going to come through with the Abyssal Voyage. And Joe's actually in a lot of trouble here as well, but does manage to take out the Camille in the end. Joe using that package away. Fred's going to come up and meet Adam. Corki goes down in GA as well. A lot of GAs across this game. Fredster finds Adam, and that will be that Catfish sinking down to the bottom of the river once again.
No way to capitalize on it, but MnM are going to go for an Elder Dragon play because they can't force the engage otherwise. Monk probably not going to try and battle this one, and they should get back in time to defend this top lane tier 1. So Rifty finally made a play that resulted in MnM getting something good. And it was in a side lane, which is where Rifty has probably always been traditionally better for MnM.
Finally, 7-5-2, and that just speaks wonders, doesn't it? Just speaks amounts about this game. Oh, hang on a second. Ash Arrow. Knocked airborne as well. Monk's going to chase him down, but Candy Floss almost chunking out Shogun instantly. There comes the Feral Scream, silencing him, but here comes Corki. Oh, Energy has to flash away. Joe just coming through with the damage. That Gatling gun just doing so much work. Zandia opens up the curtain call, but Candy Floss is going to be the first casualty of war. Barrage looking maybe just to end the game here. They still have that Baron buff. I actually decide against it as Rifty does come up.
Low health bars right now for Barrage, but I don't think MnM should be overconfident here. Candy Floss tried to tank for as long as possible, but this double Blade of the Ruined King pickup seems to be so good against the Cho'Gath. Who would have thought Blade of the Ruined King good against those targets that stack health? Remember, the more health your target has, the more effective Blade of the Ruined King becomes. So especially against the Gargoyle Stoneplate, you're probably going to be hitting for, you know, incredible amounts of damage, especially with the critical strike.
Just, I'd love to see the damage graphs after this, actually. Because
I think Monk will be off the scale.
It will definitely be Monk, but Joe as well has just been coming up absolutely huge. The Corki, every single time he picks up an item, it's just a huge spike for him. He's got Infinity Edge, Rapid Fire, GA, fully kitted out now. Trinity Force, obviously, to start the whole build off. He's 10-4 on this Corki. Not only has he had an impact with the packages, but his positioning in team fights has also been just absolutely stellar.
Really, really tough laning phase for the Corki. It isn't a laning phase that you win easily as a Corki. You do get shoved out quite readily by the Orianna in the early laning phase, and Energy did a really good job at capitalizing on that. But because of the pressure drawn to the bot lane by the winning Barrage bot lane, they couldn't capitalize on Energy winning, and Candy Floss had very little impact in the mid lane and the top lane, which resulted in him having to go to bot lane as much as physically possible. Working towards a Giant's Belt here. Candy Floss is a huge, huge, huge Void monster. 9 stacks of Feast right now.
Yeah, he has 6,959 HP to be exact. Hang on a second, Rifty found himself caught out again.
Dear.
He's tagged down by Joe. This time, Sleeping wasn't alone.
Didn't even use an Ash Arrow. Was literally just the Dominus and the stun, and the result from Magma Joe going down. Rifty picking up a Frozen Heart here as well to combat the attack speed-based composition, including the Renekton, who has got a Blade of the Ruined King. So I don't think they could defend this, though. I think it'll be very difficult.
Shockwave onto Sleepy. They're just going to keep free hitting this turret. Oh, there we go. Candy Floss finds his mark. But look at the shields on Monk. Just survives the entire engagement. That caster's going to send him flying. There becomes the Rupture. The Feral Scream to silence them. But Monk's going to take the tower, no worries. And now Adam is in the front of the line. Great health pop, but look at Angry Joe as well. He is angry at this point. Just ripping through that Catfish. Energy just gets jumped on, almost deleted, and Monk's positioning is perfect. Candy Floss falls. Zender just gets flashed under, uses the heal, but it's not going to be enough. MnM are just going to go down. Barrage, they're just going to take the turrets and take the game. Monk and Joe coming up absolutely massive in this match. They just need to wait for the minions now. Yeah,
Rifty's back up, but I don't know how much of an impact. It'll be a hero defense here if Rifty and Energy can defend it by themselves. Doesn't feel like it's possible, though.
Well, he does have ultimatum. Does use that hook shot to get over the Nexus. Finds the kill onto Sleeping, but is in that GA. There's going to be an exhaust used on him, but they're just going to focus the Nexus. There comes the Hextech ultimatum on Sleeping. The Shockwave completely misses because the game is already over. Barrage are going to take their first win of the ESL Premiership over MnM.